he gets grilled and asked some tough questions, and then he doesn't answer about this administration's failure in Afghanistan. What's the point in this era of unaccountable government? Joining me now is retired combat rescue pilot and Air Force Special Operations Major Glenn Ignacio. Major, welcome back to the Chris Salcedo Show. You know, it's been 14 days since this sloppy pullout. We have Americans left behind in Afghanistan as we are speaking. One party doesn't care. The other party only wants to ask some quote-unquote tough questions. What's missing from all of this in your view?
Accountability. I mean, everything is about the finger pointing of, I inherited, as you heard, I inherited this particular deadline. Well, this cabinet has been in office for more than 8 months, so you had 8 months to plan. So those are the things that absolutely bothered me, and I think you've heard this through, you know, the entire thing from veterans and so forth is accountability. Okay, the whole evacuation didn't start well, didn't go well. Where's the accountability that we asked for from senior leadership? Where's the accountability that we asked from the White House? And there's numerous mistakes that we've called out, and there just seems to be no accountability. Step up, take responsibility, and let's press on and get something done.
Right. And of course, Mr. Blinken was hoping that nobody around the United States was actually watching. You know, wait a minute. If the plan was to exit from President Trump on May 1, why didn't you execute the plan? Oh, we didn't have a plan, so that's why we had to wait. I just don't get it. American citizens, green card holders, and Afghan allies, they have been stuck in the Taliban-controlled country in Afghanistan after the U.S. forces left at the end of August. Now, since then, Biden left them, since he left them behind, private citizens like you have been working tirelessly on getting our people out. How much help are you getting from the Biden administration?
You're absolutely right. Numerous organizations. And honestly, if it wasn't for organizations that I'm working for and others, there wouldn't be any operation, especially post, evacuation and ending of our last planes leaving Kabul. Excuse me. But the point is that from the State Department could really help by coordinating with the surrounding countries to get the borders open, to get people out. That is not happening. We could definitely need assistance of pressing the Taliban versus just asking their permission to get our airplanes airborne out of Mazar-i-Sharif or some of the air operations that are starting out of Karzai International. So the State Department want to work with them, but we need to see actions, and those actions include helping the surrounding countries to open up the borders for us to get people out, also to help with coordinating any kind of diplomatic clearances that are required. Not only that, but to also press on with these visas. These visas for these individuals, the interpreters and everything, have been going on for months, if not years. And while you let people over the border freely, clearly, to migrate anywhere they want in the United States, these are people that put their lives on the line, just like any American soldier. So I want people to think about that, and are not being accepted into the United States very easily. They're not getting their visas. They're not getting any kind of support. And even for us, we would like to see the State Department step up that way and actually perform. The military is finally starting to turn around and engage with us, and that's working a lot better. And the idea is that all of our groups, all of our organizations want to work with everybody. We want to work with the State Department. This is not an adversarial approach. But think about it as if it wasn't for this type of civilian operation, what would there be?
Yeah. Well, Major, let me ask you, because you said a lot of things there I want to unpack really quickly.
Sure.
You're wanting to engage with the State Department, all well and good. And my question to you was, how much help are you getting to get these Americans out? And I still want an answer to that. But should you rather be engaging with the Department of Defense or the Pentagon rather than the State Department? Because Antony Blinken's an idiot, and he doesn't have the wherewithal or the brains to actually help to get Americans out of Afghanistan. I mean, wouldn't it be better, I guess, in a way, to engage with some of those folks who maybe understand the concept of we don't leave anyone behind?
Absolutely. And let me break that down 2 points with the State Department. So the State Department announced just the other day that they're going to start working with us. Okay, now, so we haven't gotten any support and we haven't gotten any coordination. So there's been a lot of talk, but we haven't seen action. So we haven't seen any activity with the State Department being able to open up some of those borders and work with those countries for us to get people out. So to answer that question clearly, it's 0 to a scratch of an effort. Maybe that's what's starting. but nothing so far. As far as the military, yes, the same thing about leave nobody behind. All the military, everybody that's on active duty or the veterans feel exactly the same way for the Americans and for the individuals like the interpreters and so forth. And the military has started stepping up and working much closer with us to try to figure out how to get people out. That's the best it would start, because I wouldn't want to compromise anything. But it is great to see them stepping forward, and that's General Miley and others we criticize, but it is great to see them stepping forward and getting more engaged. And that was really critical because, yes, that's where we come from, and that's also the people that know how to do things. We're usually handed a bad situation from the State Department, and the military is the one that has to pick it up.
Well, former President Trump slamming the botched withdrawal. He said, quote, "I guarantee that China and Russia already have our Apache helicopters, and they're taking them apart to find out exactly how they're made." Since Congress won't do a damage assessment of the botched withdrawal, give us your estimate on how much of an edge we have lost here in the United States when Biden turned over some of our most advanced weapon systems to the Taliban, China, and Russia.
Well, that's a long list, so I'll try to make it as best as possible. First, we pulled out completely, so the embassies are still open for China and Russia, so they have that engagement in country. All those resources, natural resources, plus the strategic locations of being able to work out of Afghanistan. Bagram, we've seen that the Chinese government and military has been involved with looking at Bagram to take over that. We left them a great facility for them to move in and take that. Now let's talk about the technology. Yes, you're talking about some incredible technology that includes our drones, some of our biometric information, our night vision, which is not exported. You hear me talk about that a lot. All this technology is now being accessible to those that should have never had it, and they'll be able to reverse engineer it with their masters of and recreate that. So we lose our edge, and we literally have to create new technology and new advances to make sure that we're ahead of our adversaries in the world. It is a complete disregard for that type of security and concern, security that we've had in the military, and that is now completely wide open to all of our near peer adversaries to get the technology, and for everybody to capitalize on us pulling out. We literally have no presence, and China and Russia are just perfectly to walk in.
Well, that's why America's enemies, whenever a Democrat gets into the Oval Office, they're always rubbing their hands together because they know they're going to be able to get their hands on all kinds of juicy stuff, all of our secrets. Last question I have for you. Over the weekend, former President George W. Bush spoke on the 20th anniversary of 9/11, comparing the terrorist attackers to American citizens because he was being too cute by half. We don't know who he was talking about, either the January 6th rioters or BLM or Antifa terrorists. What we do know, is that Bush made no mention of hundreds of Americans left behind by Mr. Biden in Afghanistan. Did President Bush lose credibility in your mind for ignoring Americans that Biden has left in harm's way?
Well, he's definitely left it so far open. It's definitely open to interpretation. So, you can look at it and say, well, geez, the Taliban has removed and eliminated the history of other things in Afghanistan and other historical and religious artifacts that had nothing tied to them. We see that happen in the United States, where we see all these statues and so forth being pulled down. So if there was a specific link there, that would make sense. But again, it's open to interpretation. So I look at it from the standpoint of, you can make a solid statement that Americans were left behind. Okay, that's a fact. And we're trying to do whatever we can to get them out. But you left Americans behind. A clear understanding that happened, and the United States is responsible to get them out. But as far as the Taliban and American threats and terrorists, there's quite a difference, but there's also similarity as far as the way that we're eliminating our history in the United States and nobody's paying attention.
I got to tell you, Major, if I have to be united, that's what Bush and Biden were talking about. We've got to be united. If we have to be united in leaving our people behind, I don't want to unite with those kind of people. I don't want to unite with George Bush on that score. I don't want to unite with Joe Biden on that score. Retired Major Glenn Ignacio. Sir, we appreciate the time here on the Salcedo Show. Thank you. Still to come, major Hollywood actor comes out in support of canceled priests. Plus, we analyze what really happened on January 6th. Ashley Babbitt's husband, Aaron Babbitt's going to join us a little bit later on the Salcedo Show.